It is the final of
Woo!
Dancing on Ice 2024. You look freaking amazing.
What can I say? We're all speechless. I do look pretty amazing. I mean, this number just built and built and built. I went to war for them.
Perfect 10s across the board.
I mean, my jaw was on the floor.
Dun, dun, dun. Two of the most contrasting boleros I have seen in a very long time.
Whether you win, lose, or draw, if you get to skate the bolero in front of Jane and Chris, this is like life made. That's almost like the same as lifting the trophy.
We have a new champion of 2024.
Congratulations, Ryan and Amani.
Hey! Celebrate
Good times, come on!
Hey, welcome to the Icebreakers podcast. It is the final of
Woo!
Dancing on Ice 2024. Matt Evers here, sat alongside. I have got to say, even before I say your name, you look freaking amazing. Frankie Seaman.
What can I say? We're all speechless. I do look pretty amazing. Well, thank you to Confetti and Lace who dressed me this week. I mean, this is a couture dress.
Is it?
Yes, it's Bella Figura.
Well, I don't know what that means, but it sounds amazing.
I know. I think it means it's very expensive.
It looks incredible.
Oh, no, it's gorgeous.
Yes, it's the final of Dancing on Ice. We have a new champion of 2024. Come on. No spoiler alerts here. Congratulations, Ryan and Amani.
Congratulations, Ryan and Amani. Well-deserved winners. We have loved watching you, and I can't wait to get into this. There's so much that happened this week. I mean, there have been falls, there have been spills, there have been tumbles, there have been accidents.
Yep.
But there have been tears of joy, tears of sorrow. I've got goosebumps on my arms.
Goosebumpies.
Got chicken bumps.
But so much to unpack on this episode. What an incredible series, first and foremost. What I love about the final of Dancing on Ice is that it is such a celebratory experience for everybody involved. And even for the contestants, as we saw, that had come back this week. However, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Somebody didn't get on the ice.
Yeah, I did notice that. And I wonder if the eagle-eyed spotters at home noticed that. But I think we do have to say, congratulations to the class of 2024. You've entertained us. You've made us laugh. You've made us cry. You've got us all to fall back in love with ice skating again. And congratulations to the people behind the scenes, the production and the crew. You guys have done a great job. We've been right there with you every step of the way. So thank you for entertaining us.
Yeah, and yes, as we said, Ryan, Adele, and Miles competed tonight for that Dancing on Ice trophy. There is a new winner, has been crowned, and a bit of controversy with it. And I've not even talked to you about this yet, which we'll get into in a little bit. And also, don't forget, we have to do our golden envelopes.
I can't wait to do my golden
envelope. So stay
envelope.
tuned for all of that. But elephant in the room, what happened to Greg?
Right. Well, first and foremost, we know, as we've seen on social media, that Greg was injured. We knew that from a few hours before the show went out. And obviously, you and I were very concerned. We have heard about his injury. Of course, we know that he's had to go to the hospital, so we know that it's very serious. And we just really want to wish him well, of course. This is just an ice skating show, Greg. Your health comes first.
Absolutely.
And as much as we missed you and everybody, from the contestants to the audience, really, really missed you tonight. But we do wish you well, and we hope that you make a full and speedy recovery.
And I have to say, he was extremely popular. If you remember last week on the pod, we put out a poll to see who you as the audience would love to see in the Bolero. And I have to say, it's public. You can go through and see it yourself. But it is definitely, Greg was the front runner there for that Bolero spot.
I mean, he had been building throughout this entire series anyway. And I think, that's on Spotify, right?
Yes.
So you can head over to Spotify and see those results.
Yeah.
Oh, I look forward to it.
I do want to kind of give Greg some credit because we didn't get to see him skate tonight and kind of go through some of his best bits. From week one, that routine that they did to, I believe it was Galantis in that silver.
Amazing.
We just knew that he was going to be an incredible contender.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, I bigged Greg and Vanessa up. Of course, we love Vanessa James. We know she's an ex-Olympian. So putting those two together, it's like fire on ice. I mean, they're bringing like all kinds of work ethic and strength and mentality into our sport.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell that Greg embraced the sport. He was loving it. But then I don't know, halfway through we saw this metamorphosis and Greg started to embrace the performance.
Yeah, he
So
really
then we
did.
had Dancer Greg, Ballet Greg, Flying Greg. I mean, come on, this
Yeah.
guy was doing it all.
They were definitely a match made in heaven. And those sort of partnerships only happen every couple of years on a show like this. And I was so excited to see Vanessa James join the cast of Dancing on Ice. I was such a big fan of hers, of her competitive career. And then to see what she was doing and how she worked with Greg was just, it was magical.
Yeah,
The
I mean-
tricks that we saw throughout their time on the series as well, stuff that we've never seen before.
Groundbreaking, literally groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. And yeah, I remember watching her at Worlds and Olympics as well. And I agree with you. I was a huge fan of her work. So we're sorry we didn't get to see you in the final, Vanessa. We're sure we would have seen you in that Bolero. But there's always next year because apparently we're coming back.
Bum, bum, bum.
Wow. So that was a spoiler alert at the end of the show, the very, very end of the show. Holly and Stephen both said, well, we'll see you for 2025.
Well, they actually said we'll be back with a new cast of 2025. And they normally,
right.
like previously, they normally just say, you know, we'll see you next year. And like everybody at the end of the series would always sit on the edge of their seat. Like, are they going to say it? Are they going to say it? Are they going to say it? And they even gave us more of a line this year. So it's pretty exciting,
Well, I
which
hope-
means
I hope the Icebreakers podcast is back.
ding dong. Who's there? We are. And I haven't even had a cocktail yet.
Yes, being the opposite words.
All right, let's get into the show.
I'm into it. I'm already into
I know
it.
you're already
I'm so
into
into
it.
it.
Opening number was really cool. We've seen sort of those light sticks previously. I remember skating with them a couple of times. And I wasn't quite sure where it was going to go. But then once it all kicked off, we got to see the big tricks from the pro teams. And then the celebs came out at the end.
Yeah, it was a big silver and black number. And what I really liked actually was when the celebs came out, they presented them on podiums like they were trophies. And I just felt like it was a real hero moment for each one of those couples to have their moment in the spotlight. I thought it was very special. I know it was pre-recorded, obviously, because then we saw them transition onto the ice. The podiums were gone. I get that.
Yeah.
But it looked, I don't know, really special. It felt like a final. It felt like we were celebrating these three couples. Of course, it should have been four,
Right.
but it felt like we were celebrating them.
And I think too, you touched upon the word pre-record, and we should remind you guys at home is what sort of that means. Obviously, it's a pre-recorded piece, but what you'll find with Dancing on Ice, because of hair changes, costume changes,
Set changes.
it takes a good 2 minutes to change your skates as well, especially for the celebs if they don't have help
At
with
least.
people backstage.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of people, they don't like, personally for me, I never liked anybody else helping me with my skates because that's my bread and butter.
Listen,
there.
I didn't even like taking my skates off. Once my skates are on, they're on. Unless there's something really wrong with them, do not touch the skates, right?
Yeah. So what we see a lot, especially in the final, is a lot of these professional numbers, or like tonight, the Torval and Dean number, it was pre-recorded. And that's just to help the flow of the show because there's not enough time to change and do things like that. But as well, we saw some comments on social media tonight about the VTs and how the celebs and the pros were speaking in the VTs as if they had already left the show, right? That
Yeah.
it was in past tense.
Yeah.
A lot of that VT footage is filmed at the beginning of the series. They ask them about, what do they want to do on their journey with Dancing on Ice. And then with the 3 or 4 finalists this evening, they would have filmed a lot of that VT Monday or Tuesday earlier this week.
Yeah.
So that's why it can be a little bit confusing of, wait a second, why is this all in past tense when they're just about to skate? So
And also, the edit team can only do so much. This show is live. It's happening day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour. So they're going to prep as much as they can, but nobody could have foreseen what would happen with Greg and Vanessa, for example. So then the show has to be, reconfigured and changed around because the entire show would have been planned, rehearsed, dress rehearsed because he didn't get injured till this morning as a 4-couple finale. And
Yep.
then that must have sent the production team into disarray. It must have been so hard for them. So I applaud them for pulling it together seamlessly. If you didn't know that there were supposed to be 4 people in that finale, you wouldn't have ever guessed. I mean, they did a great job of covering that.
Speaking of that, pulling it together at the last minute, did you notice that, over the past 4 or 5 weeks, there have been quite a few production blunders within each episode,
Yeah.
right? Like at one point they went to a camera and the lights were out.
Yeah.
They go to Holly and her mic wasn't working or whatever. And that stuff happens. It's live TV,
Sure.
it's nobody's fault. But at the end of the day, there wasn't a single production mistake in tonight's show.
It was
I
flawless.
think the shakeup of Greg not being there made everybody very alert and very on their job and on their game tonight. So it was a production speaking wise, it was a seamless show.
I think a lot of coffee was drunk at Dancing on Ice today. People are not going to sleep for a week after this one.
Very true.
Did you see the judges? I mean, Holly was in chainmail. Stephen was in a tux like yourself, obviously. But the judges looked amazing. Oti in that green dress.
Yeah.
I literally want to steal that dress. I loved it. Jane in the champagne. I mean, looking like a winner already.
It was they always look great, I think. But again, I just keep going back. Like Oti is just nailing every look. She nailed every performance. It's just such a great asset to this show. I'm a big fan of hers, obviously.
No, loving your work.
But the judges tonight are just there for guidance. As we see pretty much with every final, their scores don't mean a damn thing.
Yeah, they don't mean a thing, although I do feel that their critiques do influence the general public.
Yes.
But I think, if you're a fan of a certain person that's in the final, you're going to vote for them no matter what the judges say. And we saw that, I think, tonight with Miles. Spoiler alert, he fell and still was voted through to the Bolero, which I think was a big shock. But yeah, the judges' scores don't count. And on paper, you'd have thought Miles wouldn't make it to the Bolero. But of course, you have to take into account that the general public is fickle and they have their favourites. And I get that, you want your favourite to do well. So if you have a huge fan base, of course you're going to get more votes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the voting lines opened up from the start of the show, which, as you know, from a normal show, they don't open up until everybody skates.
So I wanted to talk about this because right before Adele skated, they said, the voting lines are now open. We haven't even seen anybody skate at this point. So at this point, it's literally a popularity contest. But of course, Adele skated first. So I feel like maybe you had more time to vote for her. In the end, it didn't really count for much because she didn't do the Bolero. But do you feel like that's the right time to open the voting lines?
It's always been a controversy through the beginning of the series because they've been doing that since series 1. And I can remember that first series when they announced it to us in the dress rehearsal, it kicked off. Like people are like, well, hang on a second here. Now skate order is very important. And we bang on every show about skating order, because if you skate first, you're going to probably be a little bit more nervous. Or if you skate last, you might be a little bit more tired. It's luck of the draw when it comes to that. But I don't know. I mean, personally, I think the final of Dancing on Ice, because the judges are only there for a critique and not actual points, I kind of feel like it is a popularity game. And at this point, people already sort of know who they want to win.
So what's the point of the judges giving them scores then?
Well, just because it would feel weird if they didn't. And you also then...
Why are you even here?
Yeah, then you also aren't going to have those moments of like showing, legitimizing... Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Legitimizing?
Yeah.
Then
You're
wouldn't...
so smart.
Oh, thanks.
Fancy pants. Oh, legitimizing.
My bow tie's a bit tight. I might be going purple in a little bit. But yeah, then the judges wouldn't be then legitimizing a perfect performance if we didn't get to see those scores, right? Because regardless, I know when I watch something if I like it or not, but we all need that sort of moment too.
Well, it's great that you have that expertise saying to you, yes, that was a flawless performance. That's why it got a perfect 40, or that wasn't such a great performance. That's why we knocked a couple of points off. And also that's why we're here to help you through all that.
Absolutely. So speaking of skating first, Adele and Mark went first. I love the finals of Dancing on Ice because we get to see these big production numbers. And we call them showcases.
And tonight they were huge.
They were the biggest they probably ever have been.
Massive.
Previously, we only get to see maybe 3 or 4 additional pros within that, with maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5, 6 dancers like on the platforms. But tonight I felt like every pro was in every number.
Kind of felt like a flash mob.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every pro was in almost every number. It must have been we have to say, it must have been a really hard week for pros. You know how hard those showcase numbers are. You know how hard you have to work. And if you're doing every single one and potentially Greg's as well, so that would have been 4 showcase numbers, which would have been rehearsed right up until this morning when this incident happened, then that's a huge workload for the pros.
And I actually think it could potentially have even been 5 because I think they start the showcase numbers last week.
Yeah.
Because it takes that long to get that many people in the creative nailed to get to where, it's show ready.
So last week they would have been practicing Amber's
we
showcase.
need to give huge props to all of the pros.
Well, it was nice seeing them
series
as well. Like we started off, we'd got, even at the start of the opening number, we'd got Vicky, highlighted, obviously Vicky Ogden, who had skated with Eddie. We saw a lot of Robin and Andy, of course. They're our faves because they just do these incredible tricks. So it was really nice to see the pros back on the ice, but I did feel for them. They must have been hella tired this week.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Worked.
Yeah.
So Adele's showcase was Beyonce's new track, Texas Hold'em. Everybody's been singing it here all night.
Well, we did that.
Right, producer Jen?
Well, we did that one transition to Texas Hold'em. Do you
We
remember
did.
a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I think it got like 50,000 views or something. It was super popular.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know it's a great track.
Very Wild Wild West. Actually, I want to go back. So within the showcase numbers, we get to see these really emotional VTs.
Yeah.
The couples get together. Typically, they used to do it in like an old style movie theater. And the last time that I did it was with Faye Brooks, and sat there, and Faye and I were put together sort of last minute because of what had happened with Hamish, him leaving the show, and I think I'd had 4 or 5 weeks with her, and I mean, I'm not super emotional, and granted, at that point it was like my 13th series.
Little jaded.
just a little bit shaded. I was like, this could be a lot of work, but here we go. Anyway, get into this movie theater, and they play your best bits VT.
I love that.
Right? They show you all of the, the highlights of your time with this person, and obviously for the celebs, the scores and the ups and the downs. I bawled like a freaking baby. Like, it's so, when they play that to you, and I think too, because you are so tired as the pro, well, and the celebs too, this week is exhausting.
Oh, it's
And
awful.
they catch you at the right moment, and they load you in and they sit you down, and
It's a trip down memory lane.
it is. And like as we saw with Adele's tonight, it was so emotional.
Yeah. Well, I think what's really interesting is because you're with your celeb day in, day out from the moment that you meet them, and you're training day in, day out, of course, you celebrate their incremental progress, but it's teeny tiny bits of progress every day.
Yeah.
But then when they take you back to the start, to the boot camp, to the training bases, and you go, wow, they really could not stand up.
Yeah.
And then you can really appreciate like what you've done together, like how much you have taught them, how much they have learned. And I think it's actually a really beautiful moment. It's the essence of Dancing on Ice. Listen,
is.
this is what we're here for. We're here to see people who cannot skate, who cannot dance, who cannot perform, get on the ice, make an absolute fool of themselves, falling all over the place, and then this transformation into these beautiful, graceful swans by the end of it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Well,
The majority of them.
Yep.
Some of them.
yeah.
Yeah. So then moving on to Adele's, the actual skate, Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Loads of pros, as we said, loads of dancers.
Look, I love this track, but I do not ever, ever want to skate to this track.
High five to that, because that's exactly what I was going to say. This is not a skating track.
No. Who came up with... I mean, it's a brilliant track, and obviously it's trending, so we know that it's going to be super popular. Maybe
Yeah.
they were going for the popularity vote, but I mean, not. No.
First off, it's a line dance.
It's a line
And there's
dance.
nothing against country western music. I grew up on country western
You're a country
music.
boy.
I am a country boy. But
You're actually quite good at the old hoedown.
What? Did you call me a hoe?
I did. You're really good at the old hoedown. You are. Yeehaw.
Yeah.
I told you.
I know, I
Where's
can
your
do it.
Stetson?
It's back in Minnesota. But totally lost train of thought. Great, thanks. Calling me
Do
a
you know
hoe.
what? This is me taking you back down memory lane. You hoe bag. Oh, sorry. I meant hoedown. I forgot that. It slipped out. Sorry. I meant hoedown.
Oh my god! Wow.
Can we cut that out?
No,
I got that.
that's staying
Okay, fine.
forever ingrained in everybody's
I meant hoedown.
ears that you just called me a
Hoedown.
an HO. But I would not want to skate to this piece of music. It's again mid-tempo. You guys have heard us talk about these mid-tempo pieces. They're hard to choreograph to. And again, line dancing.
I don't even think
is
this was-
dancing in a line.
I don't even think this was mid-tempo. It was like fat. It had this really fast underbeat to it, like this syncopation that you had to get into,
Yeah.
and they tried. But it,
Well done, Adele, for trying. Right? Because
Wow.
what they gave you was difficult.
okay, would you have been able to learn that choreography in a week?
I would hope so.
I mean,
I'm
it
a
was...
professional.
Well, I think I would have struggled. It was a lot. There was a lot of steps. Like, I like skating.
No, I could actually remember now. If we go back down memory lane,
Oh, why does your memory lane great? Although I did call you a hoe bag. Hoe down.
you weren't the best with steps.
Oh, I hate steps. Like, I like to glide and be lifted. I like to skate. Steps, so overrated.
There was when we did the Alexandra Burke number.
I don't remember that number. Oh, I do. I wore stockings. I was a hoe bag. It was awful. Alexander Schaumman and I were backstage hiding in the dressing room. Like, we can't go out dressed like this. We were horrified. And you had to go out and speak to our warm-up, Andy Collins, and say to him, don't mention what the girls are wearing because they're feeling a little bit exposed.
Yeah. But it had a lot of steps in it. And I can remember the entire time you were sweating.
I was swearing.
Like, dripping with sweat, being like, I'm not going to get the steps. I'm not going to get the steps. I'm not going to get the steps.
And then we did
So
some big
funny.
lifts, though. That was great. I was like, pick me up.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, no. This was a hard track.
This was a really hard track. It was really hard choreography. I thought she executed what she was given well.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I think, and on camera, the wig that they gave her, the fact that she was dressed in black, she got lost.
The costume was really big on her. I know it was meant to be like the whole cowboy chaps thing, but it was so big and baggy on her. You couldn't see her beautiful lines, which is
Yeah.
what we want to see with Adele. You couldn't see that she was finishing every move. I'm sure she was, but it looked kind of baggy. She looked kind of baggy.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was in the black. She got lost. There was a lot of choreography, a lot of people moving around and just bobbing up and down. And some of the pros were off time. This is a tough track to get that syncopation
Absolutely.
to.
Absolutely.
Really hard. And the
So,
synchronization.
I think, unfortunately, did it do her any favors? Did it not do her any favors? I don't know. She scored 10s across the board, so the judges loved it.
But there were multiple mistakes. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but there were mistakes. And Adele knows this. Look, I'm not going to patronize Adele because I think I personally thought she was the strongest skater in the competition tonight.
100%.
Coming into this, I
Yeah.
thought she got it in the bag. But there were multiple mistakes, and I'm not surprised because that was a really hard track. But there was a one point where she was just kind of just stood in the middle and everybody was dancing around her. And I know she was choreographed there, but she didn't do what she was meant to
you
do.
said that. You're like, was that on purpose or did she miss something?
Mm-hmm.
And I give her the benefit of the doubt that I'm hoping that was just,
Choreographed that way?
yeah. I don't know.
I mean, she covered it so well, and perhaps they didn't see it. I mean, she did the two fat ladies spin. That is really hard. So basically, Adele is sitting on the shoulders of her pro boy, Mark Hanretti. Another pro partner comes on and hangs onto her legs. Mark Hanretti spins for all his worth, and they make this giant windmill. But that's hard and dangerous.
It's very difficult. It's
Yeah.
it just shows how strong Adele is. Because I know when we used to do that on tour,
Yeah.
you and Brienne and all that,
Yeah.
I mean, whoever got the short end of the stick was
Thighs of steel.
like
Thighs
literally.
of steel.
So the girl that's on top on the boy's shoulders has to basically you hold up the entire weight of the other girl that's hanging onto your feet.
Yeah, you do.
And
Oh,
it
no,
was,
I know.
And it was
Have
never
you
the
seen?
favorite.
Have you seen these thighs?
Not tonight. They look
Forged
amazing.
in steel.
But yes, congratulations, Adele. Fantastic.
Perfect 40.
Perfect 40. Judges mentioned, which I really appreciate. Thank you, Ashley, for mentioning Mark. He said that Mark could not have been the more perfect partner for Adele.
You know, I think you could say that probably every year about Mark. I think he is a perfect partner. He's a perfect gentleman. He's very considerate to his female partners. He's very protective of them. And he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff inside out. So, I mean, yeah, well done, Ashley, for mentioning that.
Chris mentioned she was on a journey of discovery.
But Chris admitted that there were so many steps in there and that as many steps as there were, Adele said she wanted more. He said that he felt she was... Did you just say she was on a discover of herself?
A journey of discovery.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well,
Congratulations.
I'm glad we're both listening.
Christopher Dean made quite the impression on us both.
He did. And then Odie said that she showed up. Paraphrasing what Odie had said, is that she showed up every week.
So Oti said that Adele was a dream come true every single week, that she challenged herself and she had the biggest smile. Personally, I just thought she was let down a little bit by the showcase piece, by the choreography, or by the choice or the creative. It just wasn't for me.
I think what probably happened is production really wanted to use this track because it is a trending song right now.
Oh, it's a great piece of music.
And I think on paper it looked awesome. And I would have been excited to be in that showcase or to have that as a showcase. But I think in the end result, it just was like there was too much going on.
Oh, it was too busy. It was too busy. You didn't highlight Adele, actually. Like you said, it was a line dance. Normally everybody dances in a line. Well, that's not really skating. They didn't do a lot of skating.
Yeah.
It was very kind of static, just side to side steps, which we know I hate. It was a little bit It fell flat, and I think I understand what they were trying to achieve. I just think they didn't, and I think Adele was a victim of that.
Yeah.
And it makes me really sad.
Yeah. I agree. All right, moving on. Miles and Vanessa Bauer skated to Stone Roses. You loved this.
I did. When it opened, I just thought the creative of it, the way they were standing like statues, I got all of that. I thought it was very beautiful and ethereal. And then when they started skating, I actually thought it was really romantic. I mean, I liked his costume. I know you were a little bit concerned by the nudity of it, but I thought it was tastefully done. I liked her costume. I thought they'd really captured a bit more of this connection that we haven't really seen between Vanessa
What
and
you talk
Miles.
about? We see their connection every week.
Do you think?
I do.
I mean, he's been caught up on that.
Yes,
he's been
he
brought
has.
up on that. They've said to him that they didn't think he was, more than a bit of a one-trick pony with his face. But I thought this time, they were very connected. And I just thought it was very romantic. But again, with Miles, this two halves. He starts off so strong.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
I mean, I have to disagree with you a little bit. This wasn't something that I loved, only because I felt we've already seen a sort of performance like this from Vanessa, because when she skated with Perry, their showcase was stone
Right.
gargoyles as well.
Yeah.
So instantaneously, I was
Yep.
like, oh, I've already seen this from her. Then I have to switch out of that. It's not about the pro, it's about the celeb. He skated great up until he fell. Again, I agree with you. Two halves. Starts off super, super strong, gets halfway through that performance, and then things start to fall apart.
How many times have I said this about Miles? I think I've been saying it since week 3. I don't know what's going on in their training sessions, why the first half of his routine, he nails it and he comes out and you're like, he's so solid, he looks amazing, he's got this, he's so strong. And then it just falls to pieces. Something happens halfway through and I don't know what it is and I don't know why it hasn't been picked up to help him get that kind of endurance that he needs to make it through. But something always happens. This time he fell.
I know.
I know.
And it was on
my
the
heart broke.
silliest. It was a silly, silly, silly mistake. And that's, I mean, to be fair, the times that I've fallen big on my career have always been on silly little things.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're literally turning from forwards to backwards, and next thing you know, you're looking up at the ceiling.
And the thing is, with the tight turnaround on these routines and with all the props and everything that are on the ice and all of the costuming and the lights and the stoning, and there's a lot going on. We don't even know if there was something on the ice that he tripped on. We can't really say because it happened so quickly. It came out of nowhere.
Could have been.
It could have
because
been.
you've got set pieces,
Yeah.
in the commercial breaks.
Exactly.
What happens is they take all the set off from the previous skate and
And
they bring
Adele-
all the set back on.
Adele had that huge bar in
Yeah.
there, so I mean that could have been a bit of a tiniest piece of wood on the ice could have tripped him. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but after that, he just never really recovered from it, and it ruined the whole piece. And my heart broke for them.
And I think too, when they went over to kiss and cry, you could see in his face he was heartbroken.
Devastated.
Devastated.
I mean, he just started apologizing as soon as the music ended. He was like, I'm sorry. He felt like he'd let Vanessa down. And of course, that is not the case. That's why we are there as
Yeah.
pros to help you in no matter what shape or form you skate on the night. It's not about us, it is about you. So
Yeah.
I felt for him and I understood why he apologized and I understood why he felt like he'd let her down, but we didn't feel that at all.
At all. Not at all. Again, judges across the boards gave him 9.5s. Again, just for guidance. The critiques across the board were everybody was heartbroken.
Ashley said he wanted to give him a 10 and he was gutted. He said it was worth a 10 every single time, but unfortunately the fall. And I'm surprised actually that they gave them 9.5s because I think I would have probably given them aired across 9s, I think.
Oh, really?
Well, just because after the fall, I don't ever feel like he kind of got back. He never recovered.
Right.
If you fall and you get back up and you continue on and you come back stronger, then I'll give you a 10.
Yeah.
I can forgive a fall. I'm an ice skater. I know that happens. But if you have a fall and then you continue to kind of replay that throughout the rest of the routine, then that's a problem.
Fair enough. I think too, sometimes with the scores, and we've touched upon this on this show previously, that the scores are relative as
Yeah.
opposed to an actual technical score.
Yeah.
So, if they knew that that Adele had been given a 10 for a perfect skate,
Yeah.
well, he had a major fall. So then they're just going to drop him one half point below Adele.
Yeah.
But
Well, Christopher Dean said it shows how hard this stuff is. I mean, it really does. And he also said, which I thought was great advice, and I know Chris is great when things like this happen. Chris has been an Olympic competitor many, many times, and in his heart, he is a competitor. He's a warrior. He knows that when you take those knocks, you got to get back up. And what he said to Miles in this case was, it's not how you fall, it's how you get back up.
Mm-hmm. But he didn't get back up.
Yeah, I know. But I think he was just trying to
He stood up.
Yeah.
But he didn't get that performance back up.
And I think we see that he's very young. You know, I think that's something that you learn in time, that, you know, sometimes you have to have a fall and let it go and see where that takes you. But he's probably never felt like that before.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge shock to him.
And that is something, too, that I think that to learn from this is, I mean, not that Miles is going to do the show again, but somebody like Vanessa or any pros that might be listening, train the falls.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they're going to happen.
I used to do it with Georgie and I did it with Suzanne. I would, at one point, stop with the music playing. I would stop doing the choreography and tell them, get down on the ice.
Yep.
And then instantaneously, you've got to jump up and figure out how to get back into that routine. Because in a live performance, it's bound to happen and you need to be prepared and know how to snap your brain back into, okay, where am I? How do I get back to ABC? And I think possibly...
It's the shock. Yeah, it's the shock.
Possibly tonight, it shook him.
So Oti was heartbroken, and Jane said every line counts, and he'd worked so hard on those lines and worked so hard on his skating, and just the one mistake, can fail you like that.
Yeah. I think it was beautiful, and it showcased him as the skater that he's become. I didn't connect with it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I personally did connect with it, and then, he fell and kind of crumbled.
Yeah.
Like a statue.
Wow.
But I thought what was interesting is we saw his VT when he and Vanessa sat down before he skated, and they went back over their best bits, and I thought it was really interesting. Although I loved seeing his dad when he did that performance with his dad, it was beautiful. But what was really interesting was we didn't see loads of progression with Miles. So Miles was strong to start with, and he stayed strong throughout and stayed consistent throughout. But unlike somebody like, for example, Ryan or Adele, we saw huge progression. Not so much with Miles, but then when he skated off, completely in contrast to that great VT that we saw, as he skated off, he was so dejected. I mean, his shoulders were basically on the floor. He was hunched. I mean, he was like a little broken skater.
Yeah. But not all was lost because he did get to the Bolero.
He did. What I found interesting was just before... I think it was just before Miles' skate, they showed a VT of Greg and Vanessa James's best bits. They were trying to reference him. He was meant to be in the show. And so they did a little bit of a rewind journey, and it was lovely. But I wonder if that incident that happened this morning with Greg and Vanessa, if that put everybody on edge a little bit, because we saw mistakes in Adele's routine, we saw Miles fall. Was it just that kind of... everybody was feeling a little bit down in the dumps?
I think, yeah,
it had to have had a psychological effect.
It 100% has a psychological effect because you have been working with this particular person, Greg, for the past 10 weeks, if not, 3 months, depending upon who they train with every day. You've had weeks of rehearsals for this final. Greg has been in work every single day. And then when somebody is ejected and taken out of that equation at the last minute, as much training as you have had personally for yourself, it feels like a brand new day.
And we don't know the circumstances around what has happened with Greg, but we do know that he was on site at the studio. So everybody would have been around that have been having banter this morning, that have all been trying to get each other through the day. It's a tough week. It's a tough day.
Yeah.
It's the last time they're all going to skate together. So there would have been a real feeling of those four couples being very connected and all understanding each other's journeys and pain and, aches and pains and ups and downs.
Yeah.
And then suddenly to have one of them removed, like you said, there's no closure. It's not like, well, he skated in a skate off and he was, not the best skater on the night. I get that. But this was not that.
No, but I think too...
this was traumatic.
Don't discount the fact that, again, we don't know what's happened, but it could have been not good to watch.
Yeah, exactly
right?
that.
Because I'm assuming they would have been on a rehearsal, so it was being filmed.
It would have been on the monitors backstage.
He, from his Instagram stories, he was in an ambulance.
Yeah.
So, it was something that was probably pretty traumatic to watch.
And I felt like that was reflected in some of the performances tonight. There was a little bit shaky, wobbly from
especially
Adele.
for the first two.
Yeah.
Adele was a bit shaky, and then
same
you've
with
got
Miles.
Miles as well.
Yeah.
Now then, moving into the King of the North, no pun intended, Ryan and Amani showcase. They skated to Imagine Dragons. I absolutely love this track. It is power. It is masculinity.
He went to war.
He really did. And he needed to.
Yeah, he did. He was probably,
He's the weakest.
Yeah, he
skater.
was definitely not the favorite going into this show at all.
Yeah. And what I loved is from the moment that music started, I went, he's got this. He was
Unbelievable.
in the right mindset. I do remember though screaming, and we can play it because I think I recorded it, but I do remember screaming, just stay on your feet. Like, please. After seeing Miles take a tumble, I got really nervous for Ryan.
The thing is with Ryan, he has fallen multiple times.
Yeah.
He has tripped multiple times throughout this competition. That teaches you something. And this harks back to what Christopher Dean said about it's not how you fall, it's how you get up. And has Ryan gotten up? I mean, talk about rising to the challenge. Talk about peaking at the right time.
Yep.
I mean, this whole creative, it was like two teams went to war. It was giving me West Side Story vibes, like a modern version of this dance-off.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, Fire and Ice Dragons, the whole thing. It was spectacular. It was proper warfare out there. There was passion. It was fierce. It was feisty.
Yeah.
But that is a creative that can easily trip you up, that can carry you away, and you can get so into it and you can start to feel so aggressive that your skating changes on the night you rise to the occasion and actually you end up tripping yourself up, which Ryan has done before.
Right.
But he's learned from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, too, as you said, a creative like this could be detrimental.
Yeah.
Because it is so powerful, because there were so many pros. And what I noticed in this creative with the choreography is they put Ryan up against pros.
Yeah.
And he held his own.
Yes,
and
he
I don't
did.
know if you guys at home noticed that. You just would have been like, oh, he's skating with other people. But he was doing these choreography battles and trick battles between a group of professionals and then he and Amani and some of the other pros that were on the red team.
At one point, they put him and Amani doing a trick directly up against Robin and Andy. I mean, they are like the king and queen of professional skaters.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And then Ryan did a flyaway with two of the boys
Flying Ryan.
and landed it. Like, that's you as the girl understands how difficult it is to
So
land those tricks.
hard.
And then they came around the corner, and then we saw the only overhead lift from a male celeb tonight. He did the tabletop with Amani.
Yeah, and actually, the technique wasn't brilliant on that, but she held it together. I have to commend Amani there on that tabletop because I know as a girl, she was pulling up for all she was worth because his hands weren't quite in the right place. She had a bit of a slippy costume on. I think his hand slipped as he took her up, and she pulled.
Which is the boy's worst nightmare.
And it's the girl's worst nightmare too, because you're like, now I really have to hold. Like, your ass cheek is literally like a stone trying to hold your legs up. It's really, really hard. So I have to commend Amani there. She saved them on that one. You would not have known that unless you were an absolutely top world-class professional skater. You would never know that. But I spotted it, obviously, of course. But they did the backflip. I mean, this number just built and built and built. I went to war for them. At the end, when he had that flag and he was screaming his head off, I was like,
amazing.
Braveheart.
It was chills.
Come on.
Gave me
What
chills.
now?
Gave me chills.
I got chicken skin.
It was. You're wearing chicken feathers too.
No, we're chicken feathers. Did you just lay an egg?
Yep.
Ouch.
I want eggs Benedict for breakfast tomorrow.
I don't if it came out of your ass.
Speaking of eggs, how exciting was his scores? Perfect 10s across the board.
It was like the golden egg.
Literally the golden egg.
Well, I mean, I was excited. I was egg-cited. Why are we doing this egg thing? I don't get it.
Because you're wearing chicken and you have chicken skin.
Thanks, it's all about me. So the golden egg was the 10s across the board, another 40. Where's the confetti cannon?
What is happening?
I forgot I brought this. It's a little surprise for you.
What is that?
Oh, it takes a while to warm up, sorry.
What is it? Oh my God, we have bubbles. I'm sorry if you're listening to us, you're going to hear a hum right now, but why don't you switch over to Spotify or to YouTube and you'll get to see this really bad bubble machine.
It's not bad, it's a great bubble machine.
It's got it spits out one bubble every 4 seconds. Whee!
Maybe we can speed it up for camera. Okay, well, thank you, bubble machine. I was trying to get into the celebratory mood, so you just ruined my buzz piece.
Now there's
What is that?
snail trails on the couch.
Oh, it's like dragon snot.
Dragon's What?
And we'd like to thank our sponsor, Lakeside Shopping Centre, the leading retail and leisure destination in Essex.
Just 35 minutes from London with free parking and over 250 stores to discover.
And this week, I have to say a huge thank you to Confetti and Lace for this beautiful couture gown.
And my tuxedo has been brought to you by Suitor.
And on top of that, I had an amazing blowout from H Beauty Dry Bar. Thanks, guys. So Christopher Dean is a believer. He said it got better and better each week, and it did. And that's the thing with Ryan. I think we've seen, and Adele, we've seen great progression from literally never ever having set foot on the ice or not being able to skate
Absolutely.
to lifting the trophy. What a journey.
Absolutely. And Ash hit the nail on the head too. He said and actually you mentioned this earlier, he chose the right moment to peak, and he peaked tonight.
He peaked at exactly the right time. Wow. Ash also said that he got fire in his belly, which I thought was a great dragon reference.
You would have loved that.
Well, that could go either way, right?
Odie hit the nail on the head as well. Determination, passion, as you mentioned. And that she also said that that was his greatest skate of the series. And I totally agree.
Yeah, she said she'd never seen him skate so fast. She did, however, remind him of his fall.
Yeah.
Which I thought was nice because it's nice to have light and shade. And it's nice to see that journey. Somebody that has fallen can get back up and can do amazing skating.
Yeah, absolutely.
His brothers and fiancée Lucy were in the audience later, and they were sat next to, Kelly Holmes and a bunch of other people. Did you see that?
I did. I was watching the show too.
Okay. Thought maybe you'd fallen asleep at that point. Sorry.
No. So those...
Sorry.
What? Go ahead.
Well, no, because I was excited because we saw Adele and Mark on a van driving around London because somebody had chosen to support them by driving a van
right.
around London. It's
Yeah.
so cool. And then we saw Ryan and Amani on this huge billboard in Manchester. And Stephen said, or I think it was Holly that said, the whole of Manchester was behind them, which I think is so cool.
How cool would it have been to see like yourself on a billboard like that?
Oh, it was amazing. And especially they were all glammed up and everything. It
Yeah.
looked so cool.
It was really
I loved
great.
it. That was a really iconic moment, I thought.
Really, really great.
Speaking of iconic moments.
Oh God, here we go. What?
The class
Quit
of-
talking about me.
I mean, I'll do that later. But the class of 2024 came back. The entire, well, not quite the entire, but most of the cast came back.
They were all stood there.
Yeah.
And then when they do what they call Class of 2024 medley,
Like the roll call.
the roll call, somebody was missing.
I know. Where was Hannah?
Hannah was in the building.
I saw her. She did a little chit chat.
Yeah. But then why didn't she skate?
Maybe her skates were tired. We should have asked her this when we were on the
Maybe
This
she-
Morning sofa with her.
That's right.
I know. We didn't even think to ask, are you coming back for the final? Because we just assumed she
Or
was.
maybe I should have asked her, did you burn the skates after you left?
Oh, no.
Maybe she did that too.
Do you think? Oh, she
Possibly.
seemed to enjoy skating, so maybe she's injured. We don't know.
Anything could be possible.
They didn't really explain it, did they? They
didn't
just
say
kind of
anything.
just brushed right over it.
They were like, thanks for coming, Hannah. Next thing you know, she's not on the ice. Like,
I know. It was so
very
weird.
strange. Very strange. But it was good to see all the cast back. Again, what I love about that class medley is you get to see the difference, right?
Yeah.
From the finalists, which you've just seen them do, we just had 3 incredible showcase numbers, and then they put the celebs that have been evicted already or voted off back on the ice, and you're like, wow, those finalists have really grown.
Yeah, really improved. I mean, we saw Ricky Hatton, Ricky and Robin doing his press ups, and she knocked him out at the end, which I thought was quite funny.
Right.
Claire and Colin brought.
I think that was in the original choreography.
No, it was, but
Yeah.
it was quite funny. So, I mean, it was funny the first time around. I loved
Yeah.
it. And then we had Claire and Colin. Of course, we know Claire's always going to bring the glamour. She brought back her chariot as well. Hallelujah, Claire. Loving your work. Roxy and Sylvain did Beetlejuice. Well, we all know you love the Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
They even pulled out a helicopter, which was incredible. Lou and Brendan, she was dressed as Queen Lou, of course, in her 6 outfit. Fantastic. Jumps, pull through. She spent a lot of time there on the pull through at the end. I'm not sure what happened. They left her down there because she's a good skater. We know that much
Yeah.
for sure. Ricky.
She said too, if she comes back next year, she wants to come back as a judge,
I
which
love
I thought
that.
was brilliant.
She'd be amazing as a judge. Go on, Lou.
Yeah.
I'd vote for her. I wrote down Ricky and Anita, but for some reason my iPad's changed it to Ricky and Tita. So I'm not sure who Ricky and Tita were. But anyway,
Isn't that an ABBA song?
Ricky and Tita?
What is that ABBA song?
I don't know, but they skated to Sunset Boulevard.
What is that ABBA song? Tita.
Tita? Oh, Chiquitita, you and I know. Let's bring it down with the old person. Of course I know it. Let me just go back into my 1970s brain. Yep, I'm there.
Give us more. Give us more of the song.
Chiquitita, you and I don't know any more words. That's all I know. I need to go to that ABBA Voyage. If anybody's listening that's got free tickets, I'm coming.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Brilliant. I have to say, I'm well impressed that you wrote all this stuff down because I didn't even bother.
I loved it. Well, because I love seeing them all again. Like Ricky and Anita came out and did their Sunset Boulevard. I mean, some of these routines were really quite iconic. They had the flag. Oh, Eddie and Vicky came out. Eddie came out on this huge flying eagle. He just flew in, did his thing, couple of jumps, casual, calm as you like, ended in a knee slide, a massive knee slide, actually. We had Amber and Simon, obviously. They were just here last week, but she came back as a Waterloo. Are you not listening? Have you fallen asleep?
I'm listening. I'm letting you go, girl.
Well, speaking of ABBA...
And you don't even drink coffee.
Can you imagine if I did? I'd be
No.
there. I'd be doing the podcast from up there, somewhere on the ceiling. Well, Amber and Simon, you have to let me finish now because I've snorted.
I'm letting you.
So Amber and Simon, speaking of ABBA, did their Waterloo number, and then they did a bounce spin. I mean, hello.
It was kind of
Did they realise they were out of the competition?
No, I think it was a matter of this is our moment.
We've
Do
been working on this for the entire series, and we thought we were going to get through. Oh,
Yeah.
It was great, but she did a shoulder landing. It was kind of a heavy landing. I hope she's okay.
Yeah, it wasn't the softest landing.
Anyway, I hope she's okay. But I think it was so great to see the class of 2024 back. I live for it.
It really was.
Loved it.
Nice contrast to the finalists.
Well, I think it breaks
the
the tension as well because we're all kind of on the edge of our seats, like who's going to fall, who's going to skate well, who's going to, have this iconic moment, who's going to lift a trophy. So then to have the class of 2024 back, it brings it all back down to like a level playing field. This is a skating show. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be entertaining.
Absolutely.
Let's celebrate together.
So the reason being for all the celebs coming back is the voting lines have closed. So now they're obviously taking time to count the votes.
Like one for you, one for Adele, one for me, one for... How are they counting the
I don't
votes?
know. Who
I'm
knows?
sure it's computerized. However,
It's definitely.
I mean...
It's definitely. What are you from the 50s? Excuse my French. I just dropped an F-bomb. Like,
They have an abacus.
what's an abacus?
An abacus, with the beads on it. It's a counting machine.
What, from like Grecian times?
You're not that much younger than me. You don't know what an abacus
I
is?
wasn't born in 1400s.
You just look like you were.
God.
He's well preserved, that one.
Wow.
Okay, well,
Wow.
okay. But before all of this counting happened, we had the amateur skaters on the ice, and they were so cute.
They were
Atul
really cool.
and Ashley. Oh,
It was great to see the next generation of competitors and potential dancing on ice.
the future of figure skating is in safe hands. But did you see how enthusiastic they were? I think I finally found a couple of people that work and move and talk faster than I do.
They spun. His footwork is incredible. To be able to spin that fast, traveling
At 16.
at 16 years old.
He's not even begun to finish his growth spurt yet and develop fully
Yeah.
physically. He's going to be a massive pair boy. I love it.
And nice little presenters because they had to do the competition links.
Totally cute. Like
Super cool.
Big night for them. We loved it. Big it up, Atul and Ashley, and well done, you guys. And then after that, we went straight into decision time, and I have to say this was a bit of a shock to me.
So the lineup,
The lineup, this is the lineup of doom, isn't it? Nobody likes standing in that lineup. It's terrifying.
well, especially if you're getting voted out. I think the lineup for Bolero has a different feel to it because
It's the last grasp.
it's the last hurdle. And what happened shook me.
Same.
They called Ryan and Amani first. I had a feeling this was going to happen because of his fan base with the soap, with Coronation Street, also being from the north. He had a great skate. But then when they went to call the second place, they called Miles and Vanessa.
Yeah, I mean, my jaw was on the floor, to be honest.
I was shocked. I thought Adele had it in the bag.
I think you and the rest of the nation. I think Adele, as we spoke about, was a victim of not a great showcase, not because she wasn't great in it, but because I think it just fell a little bit flat and was a little bit too busy and a little bit, I don't know, awkward and not fun. I know, and I've been saying this for weeks and weeks, and nobody was listening, but I've been saying for weeks and weeks that Miles has a huge vote. And I said, even...
And Vanessa does too. Vanessa Bauer does as well.
Right, well, and I said even from the start, I said you're going to struggle because he was at the bottom of the leaderboard last week, I'm pretty sure. But I said you're going to struggle to beat his vote, and I knew that with Amber as well, that she had a huge vote. But the people, her And I knew that with Amber as well. Like, she had a huge vote, but her fans weren't voting. Miles's have been, because we've seen him skate not great
Right.
for a few weeks on the trot and just sail through.
Right. No, totally.
I actually thought he was going to lift the trophy tonight, and I think if he hadn't have fallen, he might have done.
Possibly. I think, going back to Adele being third place, we need to give her some time and give her some praise because, I mean, you at home know that we are massive fans of her and Mark's. And to get to hear her speak, it was really nice what Holly mentioned as far as, her condition and what she really brought to the show, and all the work that she has done. And also seeing, too, like from her social media, what's happened over the past 10 weeks. And what's happened over the past 9 weeks is, she's inspired a whole new generation of people with conditions. I mean, not just, kids with stoma bags, but we're also talking cancer patients and anybody that might feel a little bit different or is ill. It just was, I don't know. I've been really touched by her and Mark's performances.
Well, I think she's been a huge advocate, as you said, for people who are struggling in any walk of life, because when you're ill, it affects all aspects of your life, financially, mentally, your relationships. So I think to see her out there and to see what she has done and what she's been able to do has probably been very inspirational for people who sometimes when you're facing a serious illness or a serious crisis in your life, it's quite easy to give up and go, I just cannot conquer this. I cannot take any more. I'm done. I'm broken. Adele has shown you that actually you can take a lot more than you think you can, and you can come back bigger, better, stronger. And I feel it's such a shame that we lost her at this stage of the competition. Like, she was in touching sight of that trophy, and it would have meant so much to so many people, not just the ileostomy community, but to so many people who have struggles at the moment. She's spoken about this, how she's skating and doing all of this for people who are struggling. She's doing all of this for people who are feeling down, and I just feel it was such a shame that they didn't get behind her, or so the public didn't get behind her.
Yeah, I feel though, in my eyes, she's the ultimate champion.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, not the skating, but
Yeah.
what the story of her going through chemo, running the steps at Alexander Palace, standing outside of that ice rink, visualizing herself on Dancing on Ice and learning how to ice skate,
And visualizing the cancer leaving her body.
and out of hundreds of celebrities that we have had, we're talking hundreds of celebrities that we've had on Dancing on Ice since its inception.
Not to mention all the ones that have also auditioned.
Right. She is my winner.
Yeah.
All time,
Yeah.
period.
I have to agree
So
with you.
congratulations, Mark. Congratulations, Adele. Thank you for what you gave us at home.
It's been a beautiful journey. We love you for it. Thank you. Well said.
Thank you. Now to the two boleros. Dun, dun, dun. Two of the most contrasting boleros I have seen in a very long time.
Did the votes reopen before the boleros were skated?
Thank you for keeping me honest, Frankie. The votes reopened before the boleros. Why what?
Well, we haven't seen anything yet. How can you vote for something you haven't seen?
Because it's a popularity contest.
That infuriates me. Well, it always...
What doesn't?
I find myself getting more and more furious as the night goes on. Yeah, I mean, look, the boleros. Let's start with Miles and Vanessa. I mean, did you see Vanessa's face when they were all standing in the lineup waiting to be told who was going to skate the bolero? Vanessa had a defeated look on her face. She pretty much was convinced.
She thought she was done.
She was convinced that they were not going through. And so it must have been quite a psychological mind game for her to have to go from being completely defeated and getting ready to have your acceptance speech. I'm sure Miles was in the same place. He would have been feeding off her energy, to then have to rev yourself back up and go, whoa,
Right.
we still have a chance here.
Yeah. The choreography for Miles and Vanessa's Bolero, I knew was going to be incredible. Vanessa has really stepped it up. She's always been a great choreographer. And she did step it up. I was impressed with what she gave him to do, because it was a lot.
It was
And
very complex.
I wrote down choreography galore.
It was very complex. It was very complicated. It was ice dance.
It was.
Which, of course, Jane and Chris are ice dancers. You and I, of course, are both pair skaters. So these are very, very, as you said, contrasting boleros. Amani is also a pair skater. But
we'll talk about
Yeah.
why they're contrasting in just a second. However, I felt that Miles and Vanessa Bauer's Bolero was too much.
too much, way too much.
It got confusing.
Yeah.
It just was twisting and turning. And I went, wait, where's the skating?
Where are the lifts?
Well, if you're going to emulate Jane and Chris's Bolero, there aren't any overhead lifts,
No,
right?
but there's some really complicated low lifts.
Yes. It just was too much partner work for me. Like
Yeah.
spaghetti arms here and there and twisting and turning each other in and out. And I appreciate what she tried to do by all means because it's hard.
But that's because you're a world-class ice skater. I don't think the general public at home would appreciate how hard
Right.
that was.
It just was, and I don't know, maybe Vanessa, if you're listening to this and if you end up doing another Bolero in the future, I don't want to say calm it down, but simplify it a little bit. Let me breathe in that as an audience
Yeah.
viewer. I want to be able to breathe in a number, right?
I mean, it got a little bit lost. It was, as you said, exactly that.
was too good.
Words. It was too much.
Yeah, it was too good.
I didn't think it was that. Look, I know what you're saying, that you thought it was difficult. It was a high level of difficulty. It was very complicated, and it was very good choreography. But was it good for Miles? No. And I think we've spoken about this in the past, that Vanessa sometimes gets carried away. She's a single skater. That's her background. So she sometimes choreographs for herself. And maybe we didn't see the best of Miles in this.
Well, I think Vanessa choreographs for what she feels is going to be good for them as a team, which, if you're in a professional team, that's great.
Yeah.
But you as the pro always have to remember, how much can they handle?
Yeah.
How much can they handle that's going to look good?
Especially on a week like this week.
Right.
So hard.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if that was the deciding factor for you guys at home. If you voted for Ryan, or if you were still sort of up in the air of like, oh, who do I vote for, Miles or Ryan? But in contrast, Ryan and Amani's Bolero was an almost exact throwback to Torval and Dean's Bolero.
Yeah. At the beginning it was, yeah.
Yeah. It was easier to follow as far
Clean.
as the choreography is concerned. I don't want to say that it was perfectly clean because there were a couple of crossovers. If I'm going to get technically hard on Ryan, there were a couple of crossovers that were a bit short.
Yeah.
And that's me fine tooth comb.
I meant the choreography was clean and simple.
Yes.
You didn't get lost in all of the intricacies of it. You could just sit back and enjoy it and watch
Yeah.
it. Big tricks.
I felt with Miles and Vanessa's characterization of it, that it was passionate and they were very close to each other, like face wise. But again, it was kind of one trick pony with that, as we've seen with Miles.
I think probably because he was concentrating so hard. That routine.
Well, brings up another great point.
Yeah.
If you give your celeb too hard of choreography for them,
They can't enjoy it.
they can't get into it.
Yeah, 'cause
Because
they're
they're
concentrating.
thinking about the steps the whole time.
I could kind of
That's
see
a great point.
I could kind of see his little cogs turning. And I would have had to think about that choreography as well because,
Because it's steps.
as we know, I don't like steps. Which is why I loved Ryan and Amani's, because it was simple, it was clean, it flowed, it looked faster. Because we didn't have to turn and rotate into every single transition that we did. They could skate. There was freedom.
And when we say it's simple, we don't necessarily mean the technicality of the skating isn't simple.
No.
It is the general feel of
The choreography was simplified and they took a step back and they almost stripped it down. Obviously, Jane and Chris's Bolero was much more complex than that. And obviously, Vanessa and Miles were trying to emulate that complexity, but you can't because you're a celeb, so you have to rein it in.
Right.
Whereas with Ryan and Amani, I felt like they had the perfect balance of both. They did a little bit of a nod to Jane and Chris at the beginning, where they did the start on the floor, on the knees. I think that was very beautiful. Even some of the choreography that they were doing throughout the routine, they had the little runs on their toes, but they turned it into their own maneuver and their own movement, and it was beautiful. I could just sit and watch it and enjoy it. Whereas with Miles and Vanessa, I was kind of like, oh, what's happening next?
I think with Ryan and Amani's, I was able to sit back and appreciate moments.
Yeah.
Right. And that I think too, that is what makes a good choreographer for a celebrity. Well, and I think too, even with professional skating, you don't want just to go boom, 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 the entire routine.
No.
Even if it is slow music. You want the boom, 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 but then you want the, oh wow.
You need light and shade. I think with Miles and Vanessa, as complex and complicated as it was from an ice skating point of view that you and I can appreciate, there wasn't really any real high points to celebrate. And
Right.
this should have been celebratory. Come on, you guys made the final. I mean, look, whether you win, lose, or draw, if you get to skate the Bolero in front of Jane and Chris, this is like life made. That's almost like the same as lifting the trophy. You know,
Totally.
you get to skate the Bolero, enjoy it, enjoy every minute, celebrate it. And I feel like Ryan and Amani had space within that routine to really take it in and
Yeah.
enjoy it. And he said he loved skating in front of them.
Yeah, and that should be something. And if you go back through previous winners, but also previous finalists to when they go to that kiss and cry, you can tell the ones. Well, they all come out and say, "Wow, I loved that," and I can almost guarantee that every champion has said that. Obviously, two contrasting boleros. I mean, they both were fantastic, but the public chose Ryan and Amani.
Congratulations, Ryan and Amani. You guys, I think, are the epitome of what the Dancing on Ice journey should have been. So well done, Amani, on your very first Dancing on Ice trophy, your very first Dancing on Ice series. And congratulations, Ryan. You are the reigning champ of 2024.
Whoop, woo! Now, golden envelopes.
Should I do my bubble machine?
No.
Oh.
It
Golden
takes
envelopes.
too long
Golden
to warm
envelopes.
up. Golden envelope time,
Oh,
people.
I'm excited to open my golden envelope.
So, if you didn't watch the first episode, we did our golden envelopes. We wrote down who we thought was going to win Dancing on Ice. Who goes first? Jen? Do we do them together? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, rip it. Oh, you just ripped. You just ripped yours in half and threw it
Because
over your shoulder.
my person wasn't even in the final.
Well, who did you write?
Holly Willoughby. No, I'm I wrote Eddie and Vicky. I thought Eddie and Vicky were going to win this year's 2024 when I saw him at boot camp and then I saw him in his routines and they were getting better and bigger and better. And I just thought he's going to have a Bill Bailey moment that we saw on Strictly
Yeah.
and then he went out 2 weeks ago.
Shoot.
Yeah.
I want you to read mine
Oh, no.
because you didn't read your own. Open
And
it.
the winner is... No way!
Yes, way.
He said Ryan!
I did.
That's amazing!
You owe me pizza.
I do.
I'm having pizza.
I will gladly buy you and Ryan pizza. This is incredible. What made you think that Ryan was going to win?
I had a feeling. I had a feeling he was going
In
to be
your
the dark
waters?
horse. In my waters. Yes, I did. I had a feeling he was going to be the most improved. I also could never discount that Coronation Street fan base.
yeah.
I don't know. I saw him on that first episode in those training VTs and I went,
You just saw it all.
I was like, I knew he was going to be the people's champion.
You had
which
a
is-
premonition.
Well,
This
maybe
is
I'm psychic.
astonishing. I mean, you wrote Ryan.
And put a
Oh,
square around
I'm going
it.
to put a kiss on it.
Oh. that's
Congratulations, Ryan, again, because not only were you the people's champion, not only were you the 2024 champion, you were Matt Evers' champion.
Yeah,
and let me
yeah.
tell you now, that's the most important thing of all. It's like he's won it twice.
cute. He has.
Wowzers.
Ryan, we love you.
Wow.
Okay, so. Wow, you're just being rude now.
I know, sorry, that nearly hit you. I didn't mean to. Sorry about that. It wasn't necessarily aimed at you. Sorry, Darren.
I'm going to back up a little bit because we've congratulated.
Beep, 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 beep.
My ass ain't that big.
Beep. This is me backing up.
Because we are congratulating Amani on her first ever Dancing on Ice, but then the fact that she won it.
What a girl.
Now, let's go back in history, shall we? Very interesting fact. And I found this tonight. A bit mind-boggling. So, the past 4 winners.
I like these.
Ryan and Amani. Amani's first year on Dancing on Ice.
Yeah.
Niall and Olivia last year.
Oh.
Olivia's first year on Dancing on Ice.
Well, only year on Dancing on Ice.
Regan and Karina. Karina's first year on Dancing on
Only
Ice.
year on Dancing on Ice.
Sunny J and Angela. First year on Dancing on Ice.
My mind is boggled.
And only year on Dancing on Ice.
Uh-oh. This does not bode well for Amani.
Well, I wasn't going there.
Well, it kind of looks bad. Well, I'm sure Amani will be back next year, so.
But my point being is the past 4 winners have been new professionals.
Well, maybe you just need a new set of fresh eyes to come in and kind of go, hey,
But-
I don't have all this history, so I'm just going to do what I need to do.
And I think it's refreshing.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, Amani's, it's not really her first year on Dancing on Ice. She's been in the German version for a long time, so
Well-
she does know the format.
Likewise with Angela. I believe Angela had done a Dancing on Ice before and possibly, Karina was fresh off a competition. But regardless, I think it's just a very interesting fact that I found that my little weird brain upstairs here thought was
Yeah.
interesting.
And I wonder, because you know, you and I both know how hard it is to get to a final. I wonder if that's what puts them off and they don't come back. I mean,
maybe.
so something's going on.
I mean, we did a lot of series ourselves, so what's wrong with us?
Well, I was a stickler for punishment.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, for watching the Icebreakers podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure to spend your daytimes with you, your commutes with you, your evenings with you, late at night in bed.
Do you know what? I
What?
just need to put in this, like, I'm just going to name drop a little bit.
Okay.
But on my birthday, my gorgeous husband took me to the Tower of London. This is my birthday, like 2 weeks ago, for the day. And I got there and we were having a guided tour with this amazing woman who said that she had been listening to our podcast in the bloody tower.
Shut
Tracy
it.
is a tour guide at the Tower of London. There's a lot of T's in this. And she was listening to our podcast in the bloody tower.
That's like thousands of years of history in there, and our voices have been broadcasted there.
King Richard III will be turning in his grave. I love it. We're like the princes in the tower, never to be seen again. Well, we will be because we're back next year, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Nice little tease there. But I do have to give special recognition to some people who you've not heard. Well, actually, you may have heard their little giggles from the corner, possibly a yawn or two. But you have never seen them. And it is everybody at Be Inspired Media, who is the production company who
Whoop,
has
whoop, whoop. Give
put
it
the
up.
podcast on with us. Our producer, Jen,
Whoop.
thank you so much. She just nodded.
She's very low key.
She's super low-key.
/ bored.
Steve, our director, and DP, which means director of photography. I almost said something really rude.
Director of photography, people.
Our production assistants, Darren, Annabelle, and Lola. Thank you so much. And our editor, who we've actually never even met because she does the overnight edits, Amy.
Well, that would be Steve, but yeah. Amy also does the edits.
Yes, very true.
But she does have
Oh,
bonus
Amy
episodes.
does the bonus eps. So
Thanks,
thank you for the
Amy.
correction there.
Well, literally, you guys, loving your work. It's been great working with you, and we couldn't have done this without you. Thanks.
And once again, thank you to Lakeside for our beautiful studio and for hosting us and partnering up with us for this series of the Icebreakers and
And for dressing us so well.
for dressing us so well. So please, if you are in the Essex area, you know, it's only 35 minutes from London. There's 250 free parking spots. Nope.
Yeah.
I messed it up once again. 35 minutes from London, there's free parking and 250 stores to discover. So get your arses out to Lakeside.
We can't-
Frankie,
Yeah.
I have to thank you.
I have to thank you. Oh, it's like a thank fest.
It has been just an absolute pleasure. This little brainchild of mine that came to fruition, I've loved every single second of it. I don't know without you what I would have done without this podcast, with what I would have done with retiring from the show this year. It's been incredible therapy. And I have to say, I haven't laughed this much in a very long time. So thank you.
Can we just clarify if you're laughing at me or with me? Just want to know.
Mostly at you,
Okay, fine.
but that's fine because you laugh at me too.
Well, it's been a blast. So hopefully we can do it all again next year.
Fingers crossed. Same place, same time.
I don't really know how to end this podcast. I feel like we've gone all emotional and sentimental and like.
I know how to end it. Please stay tuned. Do not unsubscribe from the podcast because Frankie and I are going to be continuing the podcast with some pro sessions. We're going to bring back some Dancing on Ice favorite professionals, kind of get their stories, where they are, where they're going, what they've been up to.
Reminisce about their dancing on ice journeys.
And then, fingers crossed, some other fun stuff in the works. And as always, make sure that you follow us on our socials so we can keep you up to date with what is coming next, what we are up to at ice.breakers.pod. Again, the podcast can be found wherever you get your podcasts and also on YouTube. So, Frankie, thank you. Be Inspired Media, thank you. And
Lakeside Shopping Centre, thank you. Dancing on Ice, thank you. Class of 2024, thank you.
fingers crossed, we see you next year. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Way! Celebrate
Good times, come on! Let's celebrate.
There's a party going on right here.
Woo!
Damn. Look at all that confetti.
Someone's got to clean this up.
Good luck. Produced by Be Inspired Media, the content and podcast agency.